The way that the state attempts to supplant God, and this is true of communism, fascism, socialism, and it can happen in a democratic republic. The way that it usually functions is that it intrudes upon the God-given rights of personal property and the pursuit of happiness, and these things which are codified in our founding documents. Let me give you an example. When the state begins to tax property, when it says that that property which is given to you by God is now subject to their rule and their reign, you no longer own that property. You are and have become a serf. And so through property taxes, income taxes, God gives you the power to get wealth. It didn't say he is the direct disburser of wealth, but that he gives you the power to get wealth, to honor God. When they begin to tax income, property, and things of this nature, they are intruding upon rights that God has given you. If they curtail your speech regarding the gospel, we see that, for example, around abortion mills, these buffer zones, we cannot preach the gospel, declare God's law. These notions to control the freedom to worship God, these are all signs of tyranny. But the good news is this: tyranny only goes so far and can go so long before it begins to burn out. First, because of its own corruptions. Secondly, because in regarding taxation, there's only so much money and so much property to tax. Eventually, this insatiable appetite for more has to be curtailed by simple arithmetic. I think that in America today, we have reached the point where both moral corruption, infidelity to God's law in the civil realm, humanism as a life system, whether it be in the collegiate realm or among the intellectual elites, Darwinism, all of these notions are coming to the end of their political and social lifespan. In fact, I can hear the death rattle in the throat of humanism. They know it. Now, this is in one way encouraging, but in another way it leads us to the most dangerous period. Whenever these systems begin to collapse, men who have tied their fortunes, their lives, their reputations to these corrupted and falling paradigms become very vicious and violent. We see this, for example, in the old Soviet Union. When the Soviet Union began to collapse, it was uneven. We see anarchy, we see murder, we see the Russian mafia, we see all these different kinds of things, and yet there could be war. There's tremendous political tumult there and in Eastern Europe, and we don't see the end of this yet. The same thing could happen in America. When humanism ultimately collapses and Christians hopefully rise to the fore, we could see things, for example, like the breakup and realignment of the United States. What has happened in the Soviet Union could certainly happen here. And those are dangerous times where one system is collapsing and another system arises. My great hope is that there is sufficient reformation and reconstruction in the church that when the paradigm of humanism ultimately collapses, we will be able, in the crisis, to fill that vacuum. Otherwise, we'll exchange one tyranny for another.